Where's my map? There's no map. It's just green.
No, there's a map there. Look at the monitor.
Right?
Oh, God. Ron, where's my legs? Where are my legs?
Your legs are there.
I don't have any legs, Ron. I don't even know how I'm standing up.
No. Brick, your legs are fine.
In 93! 93!
Relax.
Well, he sure was afraid of that green screen. Welcome to Flynndogg Woodwork. Today, I'm going to ask you a question. Should you be afraid of green tools? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, Ryobi tools. We're going to take a look at every single one of my Ryobi tools, and I'll tell you which ones work and which ones suck. So the reason we're doing this video today is because this channel is celebrating its 1-year anniversary. And one of the first videos that I ever did was an evaluation of all my Ryobi tools. And it's this video right here that got me excited about YouTube. I would get 14 views a day, and I couldn't believe that 14 people would want to watch this video. So I thought I'd revisit this video and give you an update on all of my Ryobi tools. And another reason why I wanted to do this video is because I just recently put another tool into the graveyard. Sorry, bud. So let's not waste any more time and start taking a look at these tools. So this wild mess of tools are all the tools that we're going to be taking a look at today. And these aren't even all my Ryobi tools. These are just the tools that I consider woodworking tools. We're also going to be taking a look at a couple of larger tools, including the Ryobi drill press as well as the Ryobi router table. And before we get started, I just want to remind you that these are only my opinions. I chose to go the Ryobi route early in my woodworking career, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't start out with these tools. And since we have so many tools to take a look at today, we're going to take a quick look at some of the features of each one of these tools, and I'll flat out tell you whether I'd buy it again. So the first item we're going to take a look at today is probably the most important decision that you'll make about any of these tools. So first off, I want to say that I'm actually using my MFT for this video, which is a bonus. So whether you realize it or not, one of the most important decisions that you'll ever make as a beginning woodworker is figuring out what battery infrastructure you're going to go with. Now I've talked about battery infrastructure on this channel before, so I'm not going to go into too much depth about it. However, the reason I chose Ryobi is because this battery infrastructure seems to support more tools than other brands. It's also the more budget-friendly option.
You gotta cut back on one thing. What is it? Gas money. I could try to limit that. Gas money. Okay, there you go. Little by little, baby steps.
By buying a Tesla.
Yeah, thank you. No, genius.
And as you can see here, I've got 4 different types of batteries. I've got the simple batteries that come with the tools. I've also got a 3 amp hour, a 4 amp hour, and a 6 amp hour. And I've never had a problem with any of these batteries. My only concern with these batteries are the batteries that come with the tools. These seem to be just a little bit underpowered for higher output machines like a router.
That is a huge upgrade.
So would I buy these batteries again? Absolutely. If I had any recommendations, I would go for the 3 amp hour or the 4 amp hour, as I don't think there's that much difference in the 6 amp hour for the price. Since we're talking about batteries, we need to talk about how we're going to charge those batteries. Let's take a look at a couple of my chargers. Now when you purchase a tool with batteries, this is the type of charger you're going to get, and this thing works just fine. But the problem is that only charges one battery, and as you accumulate more and more batteries, you're going to need a bigger charger. And that's why I chose to upgrade to the Ryobi Supercharger. So this charger can accommodate up to 6 batteries, and the display on top tells you whether or not your battery is charged or charging. It also has a USB port on the very front. And the way this charger works is it fully charges one battery and then moves on to the next one. If we look at the display, you can see it's charging the first battery, and then it will move on to the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and sixth one. And this supercharger really is great. It allows you to place all your batteries in one place, and when you go to grab one, you know it's fully charged.
Battery full.
So would I buy this charger again? You bet. So the next tool that I want to talk about are my routers, and I've got 3 Ryobi routers. Let's go look at them. So these are the 3 routers that I started off with. You can see I have a palm router, a fixed base router, as well as a plunge router. And I was a little bit hesitant to purchase any router when I first started woodworking, and that's because I was a little bit afraid of these tools. So I started off small and I purchased the palm router, and this may or may not have been a mistake. The first day I ever used that palm router, a bit flew out of the collet, and I thought this was just from me not tightening down that collet enough. But I grabbed that bit, put it back into the collet, and tightened it down as tight as I could. In a couple of days, the same thing happened. So I watched a couple of reviews, and it turns out I'm not the only one that had this problem. In fact, Jonathan Katz-Moses did a palm router review, and he had to exclude this router because of this problem. So I'm just glad I didn't get hurt when the bit came out of the collet, and it gave me a real healthy respect for the router.
Respect. R-E-S-P-C-T.
So would I buy the Ryobi palm router again? Absolutely not. My next two purchases were the fixed base router as well as the plunge router. Now these are corded models as opposed to the palm router, which is battery operated. Now since I gained that healthy respect for routers, I've only used one of these two routers, and that's the fixed base router. And that's because with all the moving parts of this plunge base router, it scared me a bit. It also has quite a bit of slop if I move it back and forth. And I quickly upgraded to a higher quality plunge base router within a year. You can even see the twisty tie still on the cord that came from the factory.
Fun with twist ties. Fun with twist ties.
So would I buy this plunge base router again? Absolutely not. I have a different opinion for the fixed base router. Let me show you why. It's this router that introduced me to the router table, and this changed my whole outlook on routers. By hanging this router underneath the router table, it gave me a lot more confidence knowing that my router was fully secured. Now you may be saying, why didn't you use the plunge base router for this table? Well, you already saw the play in that router, and it's quite difficult to get a plunge router to the right height on a router table. And if we look at the fixed base router, you can see there's no play in this router whatsoever. And it's easily adjustable with this knob on the side. And it's these two tools in combination with each other that single-handedly upped my woodworking game. And they also gave me the confidence to work with the router again. So would I buy the fixed base router and the Ryobi router table again if I was just starting out? Absolutely. Next up, I want to talk about two tools that I think are the workhorses of any shop: the impact driver and the drill. So in my opinion, these are two of the most underrated tools made by Ryobi. These two tools are still used by me almost on a daily basis. And hopefully you can tell by the wear and tear on these tools that these things actually get used. In fact, I had to grab these two tools out of the toolbox of my truck to show you these two tools. If we take a look at the drill first, there's not a whole lot of bells and whistles. It goes forwards and backwards, and it's got two speeds that you can adjust on the very top. If we look at the base of the tool, there's a little notch where you can place your bits. There's also a magnetic shelf that allows you to place your screws and nuts and bolts. Now the impact driver is built in many of the same ways. It does have a couple of more features. Let's go over those. Just like the drill, it's got a little knob that allows you to go forwards and backwards. It also has a speed adjustment with 3 levels on the very back. The impact driver also has the bit holder as well as the magnetic shelf, but it also has a light so you can see where you're going. And if you're just starting out and you don't have an impact driver, get one of these as soon as you can. This tool is a game changer. And you can typically get both of these tools along with a battery charger and a battery for a reasonable price. So would I buy these two tools again if I was just starting out in woodworking? In a heartbeat. Next up, I want to talk about some tools that are beginning to make an exit out of my shop. And this doesn't mean that I wouldn't purchase them again if I was just starting out. Now one of these tools that's just recently making an exit is this drill press. And I think for the price, this is a valuable tool. Now the reason that I'm upgrading this drill press is because it's underpowered. This thing is 1/4 horsepower. Another reason is the stop collar on this has broken for me. And that's only after about 5 years of usage. And you kind of get what you pay for with this tool. A couple of things about this drill press: if you take off my table, you can see that the factory table is quite small. Now this drill press does come with a light as well as a laser, which is inaccurate at best. On the side, you can see that the table is adjustable and you can move it up and down. There's also a depth stop on the opposite side that works fairly well as long as you don't press it too hard and break it like mine. And frankly, I'm torn as to whether or not I would purchase this drill press again. I think there's some better options made by Wen and some other manufacturers that might better suit your needs. So would I purchase that drill press again? I'd probably give it a maybe, which is probably a no. I think there's some better options at this price point. And that's one of the main problems with Ryobi. They have a lot of tool options, however, a lot of them aren't to the standards that woodworkers need. And there's a difference between having to upgrade a tool because you like it so much versus having to upgrade a tool because it's not doing what you want it to. Which takes me to my tool graveyard of Ryobi tools that I just don't have anymore. First off, the Ryobi table saw. This is one of the first tools that I ever purchased, and I almost instantly regretted it. I outgrew that saw almost immediately. That table saw was very wobbly, the fence was inaccurate, and it just didn't suit my needs. In fact, Steve Ramsey wanted to put it on his $1,000 tool list, but just couldn't do it because of his safety concerns. So would I buy that table saw again? Absolutely not. Another tool that I outgrew very fast was my Ryobi miter saw, and this was simply for one reason. It was the cut capacity. This thing has a generous cut capacity of 12 inches.
I don't think you know how big 12 inches is. Do you see that?
Now I say generous because I'm not sure that saw had that much capacity. Now I didn't have the compound miter saw, which would have made a big difference. Now I will have to say I didn't have any problems with the accuracy of that saw, but a lot of that is because I added an aftermarket laser, which I think is a good idea for any woodworker that doesn't have a shadow line or a laser line on their miter saw. I'll leave some links below for some lasers that I've used for years. So would I buy the Ryobi miter saw if I was just starting out again? I'd probably look at some other options, specifically the DeWalt miter saw. The last tool that I want to talk about in my tool graveyard is the Ryobi bandsaw. And I have a completely different opinion about this tool. I think for the price, this is a steal for a bandsaw. And the only reason I upgraded this tool is because I liked what it did and I wanted just a little bit more capacity. So if you're looking to get in the bandsaw game, I would highly recommend checking out the Ryobi bandsaw. And I would definitely purchase that tool again if I had to do it all over again. Since we've touched on saws a bit, let's talk about another Ryobi tool, the Ryobi circular saw. So over the years, Ryobi has made some significant improvements to their circular saws. In fact, this is my second circular saw purchased from Ryobi. Now my first circular saw from Ryobi lasted me about 5 years, and at that 5-year mark, it started falling apart until it became unusable. And since I already had the Ryobi battery infrastructure, I knew I had to go with the Ryobi circular saw again. However, they've made a ton of improvements. One of the first improvements that I noticed is they made the base a lot larger. This gives it a lot more support as you're cutting through your wood. Secondly, they've made the angle adjustments a lot easier to read and easier to adjust. They've also added a light to the very front of the saw. They've also increased the tab that allows you to make your angle adjustments on your saw. So is this the best circular saw on the market today? Probably not. However, would I purchase this again? Well, I already did. Next up, I want to talk about my nailer.
I hardly know her.
Now, I purchased my nailer to put up some barnwood on a wall in my house. However, I had no idea that I would actually use this nailer in my shop. So this is the 18 gauge Ryobi Airstrike, and this can take nails all the way from 3/4 of an inch all the way up to 2 inches long. To load the nailer, you simply push on the tab on the bottom and it will slide down for you to place your nails. Then you slide it up and lock it into place. On the back of the nailer, there's a little knob that you can increase the pressure and decrease the pressure depending on what type of nail you're using. The nailer also has 2 LED lights that come on when you're ready to strike your nail. But by far the most important thing about this nailer is you're completely free of your air hose. This allows you to go anywhere in your workspace and put in the nails that you need. So would I buy this Ryobi Airstrike again? You betcha. Now let's take a look at Ryobi's version of the Dremel. So this tool is about as basic as it gets. You simply load the battery in the back, and then it's got an on and off switch in the very front. It also has a speed adjustment knob on the very front as well. So I purchased this rotary tool about 3 years ago when I was trying to finish up some Christmas projects. And I haven't used it since. Let me show you why. So I don't know if it's a common problem with tools like this or it's just the Ryobi, but the little sanding pads that slide over the drum never seem to engage with that drum, and they simply slide and lock into place when you're trying to do your sanding. So anytime I put a little pressure on that drum, the sandpaper would stop and not do any sanding whatsoever. And it's because of this, I haven't used this tool since that Christmas. So I don't know if it's a Ryobi problem or it's just a problem that this tool has in general. So if I had to do this all over again, I would leave that tool at Home Depot and go ahead and purchase some small pieces of sandpaper. Next up, I want to shed some light on a couple of Ryobi tools that I think are winners. So these are 2 battery-operated Ryobi flashlights that I use in the shop all the time. So the smaller of these 2 flashlights really is simple. It's got an on and off switch at the very top, but what makes this flashlight really unique is the rotating head that allows you to shine the light wherever you need it. The larger of these 2 flashlights really has a unique design. It rotates 360 degrees and you can lock it down with the little knob on the side. It also goes from bright to medium to off. This flashlight also has a hook on the back that allows you to attach it to things as wide as a 2x4. There's also a little hook on the very back that allows you to attach it to things like wire. So if you're in need of light in any direction, these two flashlight, or torches if you're British, have you covered. Not only are these two lights great in the shop, but they're also great for camping. And if I had to purchase these two lights again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Now let's talk about a finishing tool that I purchased from Ryobi just to buff out some paste wax when I'm done finishing. So this tool right here is the battery-powered Ryobi buffer, and there really is no bells and whistles to this tool. It simply has an on and off switch at the very front. Now this tool has got a couple of handles on the very side to give you support as you're running it back and forth across your workpiece. This tool is very top heavy. With a battery on top, this can be very hard to control. I've found that this tool bounces all over the place. It can be very difficult to evenly apply your wax as you're moving it across your workpiece. Now this is the only buffer I've ever had, and this could totally be user error when I'm applying my wax. However, if I were to do this all over again, I would probably look for a higher end buffer. And I'm really looking to do some fine finishing on things like slabs in the future, and I'm not quite sure that this tool will do it. So to answer your question, I wouldn't purchase this again. Now let's talk about the reciprocating saw. This is something that every beginning woodworker needs when they first start out, right? Well, that's what I thought. But it turns out this is a tool that I never use in my workshop. However, this is a really good tool. I tend to use this tool all the time, however, it's not for woodworking. I use this to cut down limbs or to cut through metal. For my household, I would consider this an outdoor tool. The nice thing about this tool is the blades are easy to switch out just by lifting this tab, and you can easily remove the blade or change it out. And I have never had a problem with this tool. It works like a charm every time you fire it up, and the only thing that ever needs to be replaced on this tool are the blades. So although this tool is not being used as it was intended for my shop, I would definitely purchase this tool again. The next tool that we're going to take a look at is one that I got when I was putting in some flooring in one of my kids' bedrooms. And I think that this tool will get used in my shop someday, I just haven't used it so far. So this is the Ryobi multi-tool, and I use this to cut off some trim when I was putting in that flooring. You can see from the front there is a speed adjustment, and there's also a light at the very front. Now this is one of those tools that I'm sure a beginning woodworker or a shop needs in general. However, it's a nice tool to have if you have a piece that you need to cut down that you're not quite able to with any other tool. And the only reason that I purchased this tool was because of that flooring that I had to do in my kid's bedroom. Now this tool does work. However, I'm not quite sure a beginning woodworker or a workshop in general needs this tool. So if you have some flooring to do or you have some trim work to do, I would recommend this tool. However, this is a tool that's probably going to sit in your shop and get dusty. So since many of the tools we've taken a look at today have everything to do with the Ryobi battery infrastructure, what about a tool that changes that battery power into electrical power? So the real reason that I purchased this next tool is because I wear a CPAP. I was going on a camping trip and I wanted something to be able to power that CPAP all night long. So this is the power converter that I bought. As you can see on the very front, there's a regular power outlet as well as two USB ports. There's also a flashlight at the very top. You simply take your battery and you place it in the very bottom, and then you can power it on. Now the main reason that I purchased this tool was for that little outlet so that I could attach my CPAP. However, if you attach a 6 amp hour battery to this machine, you only get a half hour of power. And I had 6 batteries for this thing, and I didn't even get 3 hours worth of power from this device. So if you're looking for extended power from an 18-volt battery with this device, you're just not going to get it. And that's why I wouldn't purchase this over again. Well, that's going to about do it for today. I've got one more tool that we're going to take a look at, and I think this is a valuable tool for any shop. So I like this tool so much that I have 2 of them. Actually, it's because I lost one once and I used it so much that I went ahead and purchased another one. Now this is the only tool in my shop that uses a different battery infrastructure. It uses a 40-volt lithium-ion battery. Now as I'm locked into Ryobi in my shop, I'm also locked into Ryobi in a lot of my outdoor tools. And this is the 40-volt lithium-ion battery. And I can honestly say I use this leaf blower every single time I go in my shop. This is perfect for getting rid of all that sawdust that you miss with your dustpan and broom. So if you don't have a leaf blower for your shop, think about getting one. These are excellent tools to keep your shop clean. And now that I can double fist these leaf blowers, I'm a happy man, and I would definitely purchase either one of these leaf blowers once again. So I know we went through a lot of tools and we went through them very quickly. This video was meant to be a quick review of all my Ryobi tools that I use for woodworking. It was also meant to be an homage to my very first video, which was also about Ryobi tools. Well, thanks for joining me today and taking a look at all these Ryobi tools. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment. It really does help out this small woodworking channel. Also, for all the tools we took a look at today, I'll leave links below so you can go check out these tools for yourself. Until next time, take care as always.